everybody, it's Chris Seeds, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. I didn't have an episode last week because I was on vacation. I mentioned that. So here I am, I'm back again, and back to watching movies, playing games, and all that. So I went to the movies to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the grand finale to the Indiana Jones saga that unfortunately did not feel like that. It had all the elements. You have Indiana Jones, you have the, strong female lead character with him, and then you have the spunky kid, and they're all fighting Nazis. Everyone likes to punch Nazis. But somehow it, didn't work. It was missing, fun. It wasn't fun. It wasn't like that fun Indiana Jones adventure with fun and humor and it just sort of was there. It wasn't bad, but it just felt like it was just going through the motions, and it was like, here is an action scene, and here is some comedy that's not actually very funny, and here's some drama, and then here's another action scene, and it's it didn't help that the beginning of the movie, the plot is a little too complicated. There's all these characters, and it's okay, so they're the bad guys, but there's this woman with them who's like a CIA agent, and she's kind of a good guy, and she doesn't approve of them and what they're doing, and she's kind of trapped. It's all, and they're after the same thing that Indy is, and it's it's unnecessarily complicated in the beginning, and it kind of never recovered from that. It just sort of I didn't care about anything that was going on. They're going after this artifact, and I'm just okay. It wasn't exciting and fun and enjoyable. It was just sort of there. Harrison Ford does a good job. The opening scene set in the past where they use CGI to de-age his face was very uncanny valley and distracting, yes. But as actual old Indiana Jones, he did his best. Phoebe Waller-Bridges is good, but her character is basically unlikable for 90% of the movie. She does obviously go on her journey and become a better person by the end, but to have one of your main characters be kind of annoying and unlikable, she's running around being I am spunky and independent and telling jokes that aren't actually funny, and it's just sort of oh my god, stop. You're trying too hard. So she got saddled with a bad script, basically. And it just sort of, the very, very final scene was the only one that legit worked for me. And I was now you've got me. Now I am having feelings and everything, because this should have been about Indiana Jones's final adventure, his grand final adventure. And it just didn't feel like that. It just felt here's another adventure. It didn't feel like the grand finale. But the epilogue at the end was legit oh, okay, here we go. Now we have some emotions, and now I understand what you're doing. And I'm this is good. But it didn't redeem everything that came before it. It was just a nice epilogue that was actually done well, and made me feel something. But I don't know. Wait for it to hit streaming, and then you can just fast forward to that. I guess. I was disappointed. It was just very average. I did make a point of seeing it in IMAX so that I could have a great presentation in case the movie wasn't that great. And it was a great presentation. I specifically went to the Lincoln Square AMC because they have the legit humongous IMAX screen. And because I don't go there very often because it's kind of further out and it's a little annoying to get to and stuff, so I tend to go to 42nd Street, which is decent IMAX. I avoid the 34th Street IMAX because that's not really IMAX, it's just a big screen. But having gone back to the Lincoln Square one, I was oh my god, yes, this is IMAX, this is huge, this is a great picture quality, this is impressive. And while I was there, I saw they had some signs that were hey, we're screening Oppenheimer in IMAX on 70mm. And I went, oh my god, I haven't seen a movie on actual film in I can't remember when. So I went to go buy tickets to that, except that they're basically booked up. There's like one seat left in the front row over on the corner, and it's like, no, I'm not going to sit there and watch the movie like this. Like, that's insane. And I checked the following weekend, and then it was again basically booked solid. And it's like almost sold out for like 3 weekends. I didn't go beyond that because I don't know if they're still screening it or they'd be selling tickets for it. But I was like, I'm not waiting a month just to see it in 70mm. I was like, it's fine. So I ended up buying tickets at 42nd Street where it'll be like a decent presentation, not the amazing one. And then sadly, I also was like, oh, what about Mission Impossible? And I went to go look, and Mission Impossible is also like all the good seats are gone and you can just sit in the corners in the front. And I went, crap. So I had to buy that one at 42nd Street as well. Because that's only going to be in IMAX for a week, because the following week after Mission Impossible comes out, Oppenheimer comes out and will take over the IMAX theaters. So womp womp. You have 1 week to see Mission Impossible in IMAX. But it was disappointing because clearly now, going forward, I am going to have to, if there's something that I want to see in IMAX, I need to make sure that I buy my tickets super early so that I can see it at the proper Lincoln Square IMAX that's like really impressive. Boo earns. So I'll have to settle for 42nd Street IMAX, which is not true IMAX. It's acceptable IMAX, I guess. But yeah, all the film nerds are going to see Oppenheimer in 70mm IMAX for like 3 weeks straight. Not even during the week. I checked during the week, and it's like all the showings are just like completely filled up. And I'm just like, what the actual hell? It's insane. For Oppenheimer, of all things. Whatever. As for games, I did go on my vacation, so I did actually play a good chunk of Knights of the Old Republic 2. Because I was, stuck in a car or stuck on a bus. I did actually have a little bit of time to play it, like in the evening, at the house before the rest of the family showed up, because once the rest of the family shows up and the kids are all there, then there's no time to like go be by yourself and play a video game. It's just too much chaos. But I did get a good chunk done, and I have gotten used to the weird combat where you push a button and it just sort of happens in front of you. And then it does give you the opportunity as you're watching, you're like, oh, my health bar is going down, let me just go and select a health pack, and done. So that you can kind of monitor the combat as it's happening. You don't have to like take each turn, it just sort of happens. It's still linear, it's very linear. I am not sure if it's going to open up at any point. I don't remember the first KOTOR opening up at any point. I feel like it's very linear, and you go from planet to planet to planet, and you have your little adventures, and you explore around, and gathering whatever you can. But it's good. I'm still very much enjoying it. Great characters and dialogue, which is what you expect. The only trick is that now that I'm home, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to play it, because the whole point is that the Switch, I would be playing this portably. And at home, I play my PlayStation 5, not my Switch, really. So that's going to be a little tricky, finding time to actually finish Knights of the Old Republic 2, because I still have to finish Batman, which I would like to do, because I didn't play, when I got home from vacation, I wasn't really in the mood to play games. I was kind of exhausted, and I'm just like, I can't focus on Batman. It's too much. I'll play Animal Crossing. That's more my speed right now. I'm too exhausted to actually focus and play something like Batman or Gotham Knights, you know what I mean. And I certainly didn't want to start the Final Fantasy demo, because I can't focus on learning a new combat system. I don't even want to play the game when I know how to play it already. So I was just sort of like taking a breath. But I did go in and add the new PlayStation Plus games to my library, the July ones. I actually added all 3. I don't know if I'm going to play the Call of Duty game, but I put it in there just in case the mood strikes me at some point. And the Fox game I'm intrigued by. It also looks nice and short because it's an indie game, but I'm hoping that it's less platformy and more puzzly, less platformy combat-y and more puzzly, but we'll see. And then, but the one I really wanted was the Alan Wake remastered. That one I was very excited about, because, the Alan Wake 2 is coming out like this fall or whatever, so I was like, oh, this is the perfect time for them to put out Alan Wake on PS Plus so that everyone can play it in preparation for the second one. If you haven't already played the first one, now you can prep. So I am looking forward to trying it because it came free with my Xbox 360, I want to say. I feel like when I bought my Xbox 360, it was a bundle because it was after it was released, like it was long after, so they were able to do bundles to try to boost sales. So it came with like a Forza driving game, and it came with Alan Wake. And I was like, okay. But I remember I barely got into Alan Wake because I just was like, I don't like this. There's something about it that I just wasn't enjoying, so I didn't get very far in it. But I would like to give it another try because I know everyone likes it. And I've played other Remedy games that are good, so I'm like, they obviously will tell a good story. Let me give it another try. So I would like to play that after Gotham Knights, but first I have to finish Gotham Knights. And of course, that's going to be a problem because I finally, this weekend, decided that I would start the Final Fantasy 16 demo. Unfortunately, I have not gotten very far with it yet. It was like 80% cutscene so far. You did a little bit of running around and the crumbling thing, and then you wake up in the past, and then there's the actual tutorial of like, this is how combat will work, and this is what the buttons do. And then there's like some very minor exploring, and it's a lot of dialogue and cutscenes where they're talking about some war, and it's like, I don't know. In the beginning, I was just like, I don't know, like the present day basically, where it was like, these people are talking about this war, and it's like, I don't know who's on what side, I don't know who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, I don't understand any of the things you're talking about. Then you go back in the past, and it's sort of like, okay, now I'm young Clive, and I'm gonna like explore around, and I'm gonna, I basically got as far as where your father goes and says, okay, this is your mission, should you choose to accept it, which you have to because it's the game and that's what we're telling you to do, so you're gonna go do it. But I haven't actually started that mission, which I'm figuring is maybe going to be like the bulk of the demo. I don't know. So that's that. So I don't really have a lot to say about it. I did try the photo mode because there's a photo mode, and I can't resist a photo mode. This one is extremely bare bones. You basically just move the camera and you can turn on depth of field and zoom in, and like that's it. There's no filters, there's no frames, there's no brightness or contrast control or color control or any kind of adjustments. I don't know if the full game will have more options in the photo mode, and this is just like a demo photo mode. I don't think so. It's probably going to be the same. I don't know. If you're playing Final Fantasy 16 and you've tried the photo mode, let me know in the comments. If they've actually added some features or if it's just point and click. Point and shoot, I mean, but I don't have a lot to say about it because I got distracted by photo mode, and it's been mostly cutscenes, as I said. So come back next episode where I will have much more to say about the Final Fantasy 16 demo and my impressions of it. And then I'll also talk about some other things, who knows what. And I'll see you there. Bye!